Good morning. Hi, Patricia. Let's see, Lou, good morning. Jim. Hi. Good morning, Dan. Good morning, everyone in the Gampa. There's Don. Don has arrived. He will be teaching today, Dr. Don Brown.
Turn this like that. Put this on your head. Okay, great. All right. Just this looks really interesting. Does it go this way? I can't remember. Yeah. Okay. Hey, testing.
Okay, I think we're ready here, if everyone else is. We'll be starting with prayers that Donna's going to lead. Ready. Give me a second. I have to not let that happen.
Okay, let's begin with the Shakyamuni Buddha mantra. If you're in the Gampa, it's on page 34 of the Gold Prayer Book.
Tahata Om Mune
Mahamunaye Soha Tayata Mune Mune Mahamunaye Soha Tayata Mune Mune Mahamunaye Soha. And the Medicine Buddha stanza and mantra on page 34. Bhagawan with equal compassion for all, whose name when merely heard dispels the suffering of the lower realms, dispeller of disease and the three poisons, I prostrate to Medicine Buddha lapis light. Jayata Om Bekanse Bekanse Maha Bekanse Bekanse Raja Samudgate Soha Jayata Om Bekanse Bekanse Maha Bekanse Bekanse Raja Samudgate Soha Jayata Om Bekanse Bekanse Maha Bekanse Bekanse Raja Samudgate Soha Teata Om Bekanse Bekanse Maha Bekanse Bekanse Raja Samudgate Soha Teata Om Bekanse Bekanse Maha Bekanse Bekanse Raja Samudgate Soha Teata Om Bekanse Bekanse Maha Bekanse Bekanse Raja Samudgate Soha Teata Om Bekanse Bekanse Maha Bekanse Bekanse Raja Samudgate Soha Teata Om Bekanse Bekanse Maha Bekanse Bekanse Raja Samudgate Soha. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends or hatred for enemies. Just for fun, let's chant the third time. Sem chen tam che de wa dam de wei yu dang den park yu chi du ngao dong du Nga gi gyu dang drel war gyur chi du nga me pe de wa dang mi drel war gyur chi Nye ring chak dang, ni dang drel wei, chang yam la ne par gyur chik. And the Chenrezig verse of praise and mantra on page 37. Not veiled by any fault, white in color, whose head a perfect Buddha crowns in light, gazing compassionately at all beings, to you, Chenrezig, all-seeing one, I prostrate. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 And green Tara, also on page 37. Tare liberates from psychic existence. Tutare liberates from the 8 fears. Ture liberates from all sickness. I prostrate to the liberator, Mother Tara. Om Tare Tu Re Soha. Om Tare Tu Re Soha. Om Tare Tu Re So Ha. 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 And taking refuge in generating bodhicitta, I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings.
David, could we have that whiteboard up here, please? The one that's in the back. I just want to write a few things on the board. By the way, probably people know this anyway, but the best way to learn something is to teach it. So if you learn anything today, teach it to somebody else, seriously. And it helps it stay in your mind. So I'm Don Brown, merely labeled Don Brown. 7. Yeah. So I've been around Kadampa Center for a long time and teach. I'm one of the Discovering Buddhism people who teach that. And, you know, my introduction, I'll just say, know who I am. I mean, some people are new here, maybe. Anybody new, brand new? Okay. Anyway, so I took refuge from Lama Yeshe over here in Lama Zopa. But Lama Zopa actually taught the first, I took a course in Kathmandu, Nepal, the November course, which is, I think it's great. And it's a 1-month course. And then Lama Yeshe took refuge with Lama Yeshe in 1978. So that's a long time ago. But I'm still I guess I call myself an advanced beginner. It's a long process. And so anyway, happy to, Donna asked me to, since Geshe wasn't going to be here, to talk about some Dharma, sort of plant some seeds. Now, I could go ahead and just, you said there were some questions from last time, or I can just go ahead and do my, do what I wanted to do.
Go ahead.
Actually, Geshe could ask. I mean, almost better for Geshe to answer the questions.
Yeah, you go ahead and do your thing, Don.
All right, thank you. I will do my thing. All right, so let's start out with some little simple grounding meditation practices. These are some things that not specifically to Buddhism, but you could use these anytime. Just when your mind is kind of chaotic. So the first one is we're gonna focus on the breath. You want to get your body in a comfortable position, obviously sitting straight up. If you're in a chair, you want your spine straight. If you're sitting on a cushion, same. And we're going to breathe in. And you want to breathe into the count of 2 and breathe out again, quite silently, of course, like 1, 2, and then out 1, 2, 3, 4. And then in 1, 2, and out 1, 2, 3, 4. That prolonged exhalation is important. So let's do that for a couple of minutes to settle the mind. And then we'll do another simple one too. Just again, these are things that we can do during the day to, when we're like our mind is chaotic, to like get in the moment, to bring our mind back to this present moment. So a little variation on, but still working with the breath. And this could be good before you take tests and stuff like that, or have, whenever you want to just settle down. You want to, we're going to take a breath, and at the top of the inhalation, hold it for maybe a count of 2, and then exhale, and again hold it for a count of 2. Then inhale, hold it, exhale. So let's do that. Inhale, hold it, exhale, hold it. Inhale, hold it, exhale, hold it. Inhale, hold it, exhale. And now let's relax your concentration and come into the present moment, into the Gampa. That's what we call this place, the Kadampa Center. So we don't have much time, 46 minutes. I tend to be long-winded. Donna asked me to leave time for just, questions and answers. So that's usually not my style. I talk too much. Pardon? Yeah, really. Well, I will, I'll do it. So today, there's a couple of things I want to talk about. First of all, how many people here know what the 3 principles of the path are? Because that's Buddhism. Hello. But guess what we got to know? I mean, if you talk about becoming a Buddha, you need to know this. So this is something, we're going to race through this. Not going to be a long, but this is something that it's kind of like my kids. I ask them, like, okay, they've been coming here, but really not getting that much out of it. But anyway, they've been coming. I used to bring them here when they were babies, and we'd walk in front of the statues. I was thinking the good imprints, even though they didn't get anything, but they got imprints. I'm going to say that they got there's a powerful, I think this place is a very sort of powerful place. There's a lot of good energy here. A lot of great teachers have been here. And I'm just saying, well, and the backdrop of this whole conversation is, I want you to think about, what the heck does this word mean to you in the context of your practice of Buddha Dharma, particularly in this center, in this particular tradition, Tibetan Buddhism. All right, the they call, this is sometimes called the three principal paths, three principal, I don't spell well, three principal paths. Sometimes it's called the three principal aspects. But anyway, there's just three, okay? And the first one, who's going to help me with that? Yay. Who said that? Joey. Stand up, Joey. Let's give Joey a hand. Good job. Yeah, Joey's going to be a monk. Maybe he already is. Yeah, renunciation. So renunciation depends on who, and this usually people interpret this, or at least the pedestrian mentality around renunciation is, oh no, I can't have any fun anymore. Doggone it. But from the Buddhist perspective, it's the determination to be free. Free of what? Dukkha, free of attachment, free of craving, free of suffering and the causes, determination to be free and become liberated. So again, you gotta have a little bit of faith that you even have that potential, right? Most of us don't think we do. We think we're a mess. Or when we look at our minds, we do. But Buddhism says we have that potential. We have Buddha nature. We have that potential to become happy beyond our wildest dreams. But it won't happen without a cause. And these are the causes. So we'll go over renunciation in a minute, how to generate that. Then what's number two? Joey, you can't say, you can't speak. Let's talk. Let me call on Peter. What's the second principal aspect of the path? Starts with a B. You channeled through her. I got it. Okay. Bodhi Chitta or Sita. Some people put an H in here. Anyway, Bodhi means awakening and Chitta means mind. And this is also called the heart of enlightenment. It's the distinguishing feature of Mahayana Buddhism. It's the thing in Buddhism that I find, I just love it. That's why, anyway, without going into much detail. And then last but not least, all right, Peter, now you got a shot at it. Yes, good answer. The wisdom of emptiness. All right. So now sometimes all of these teachings are subsumed in the the Lam Rim teachings, right? Sometimes we call it the three scopes, the lower, middle, and higher scopes. All of these teachings are subsumed in that as well. The teachings on Tantra, for example, it's at least in Tibetan tradition, we say that you have to practice Tantra at the highest level. I mean, there are certain preliminaries that you have to, first of all, and this is kind of cool because actually Khyentse Rinpoche may be coming, we hope. And the prerequisite for taking a tantric initiation is an understanding, at least intellectual, if not experiential, in the three principles of the path. But then in Tantra, there's a generation and completion stages. So that's a whole nother conversation. But let's go. And I can, if anybody has any questions as we go along, hold them if you can, because we don't have much time. And but I'll try to run through this pretty quick. So this is really this is a cool opportunity for me to review stuff. And as somebody who I always find it's great to be asked to teach, because then I have to think, how can I say this in a way that doesn't bewilder people too much and overthrow them, too much information, TMI. However, we're lucky here in that there's some nice teachings on how to generate renunciation. And I'll bet you a fresh $1 bill, nobody knows how to. Well, what did I say? It was the determination to be free of suffering, right? And the causes of it. And to be free, that means nirvana, basically. Yeah, to be and again, do we have that potential? Do we even believe we have that potential, or that even it's possible? These are all good questions that we should be asking ourselves. Is it possible to be free of suffering? But this is, I've heard several teachers say that there's virtually nobody that practices a spiritual path who has any really. This is not me. This is some other teachers. But if you have had your butt kicked, so to speak, if you have had a significant amount of suffering, be it cancer, divorce, the death of a child, whatever the problems are that you've had to deal with, the people that have had the worst time are usually the people that really go after the Dharma. They're the ones that are able to go the deepest, because they don't have a problem understanding dukkha, suffering. They know it. They've experienced it viscerally at every different level. So renunciation is again, that's the beginning. That's the launch pad for any spiritual practice. Most people don't come here because their life is perfect and blissful. We come here because we want more. We have problems. We understand we're caught in a mess. We're caught this is called samsara. Wake up this morning, or whatever happened this last week, and oh my gosh, the politics, the this, the that, there's so many problems in the world. It's not surprising. This is what normal is. This is normal. This has been going on for countless eons. This is just one more version of chaos. That's what samsara is, the cycle of uncontrolled causation. So how to generate bodhicitta. So these are the points. So I'm going to tell you first, give you a quick overview. The first two are to help us turn our mind away from the happiness of this life. So the first one is called precious human rebirth. And then the second point we're going to contemplate is death and impermanence. Okay. So when we think about how precious this life is, and the fact that we're all going to die, could happen any moment, and the only thing of any benefit at the time of your death, it's not going to be your 401k. It's not going to be all your friends and family gathering around. Please don't die. No, it's going to be the only currency you're going to be able to spend is the spiritual currency, the seeds that you planted on your mind stream, the Dharma seeds. That's what you can, bring to that moment, to be able to die with a happy mind. Hey, maybe even practicing Tonglen, like thinking, okay, may the suffering that I'm experiencing, or the fear or the uncertainty that I'm experiencing now, may I take on the fear of every living being that's dying now, that will die in the future, which is everybody. May I take it into my heart and destroy my selfishness, and may I give everybody happiness and the causes of happiness and fearlessness and joy, and all the way up to supreme enlightenment. Wouldn't it be great to have that kind of mind at your death time, rather than be freaking out? I think I want that, but it won't happen without a cause, really. So, precious human rebirth, death and impermanence. But that turns our mind away from just the happiness of this life, because it's a precious life. Precious because we have freedoms and we have endowments, without going into much detail. That, we're not born, you're not living in Ukraine right now. It'd be hard to practice in Ukraine, wouldn't it? So we're not living in a place that's crazy. We're not in any of these joyless realms and so on. And we live at a time when the Dharma exists, and that there are actually teachers who have some experience, even all the way up to Supreme Enlightenment. We have faith that we have teachers like that. So it's an amazing opportunity we have. This is a precious life. I remember Thupten Pende once said, it's like we're walking along, in ordinary world, and we walk into this little area where it just all of a sudden in time it's a space where things are amazing. And on the other, it won't last, but you got it right now. We're in this space called precious human rebirth, where we can achieve our fullest, our potentials. And we have a method to do that. So it's pretty cool. And then it could be over any minute. We have this precious life. It could be over any minute. And we could use it to achieve our full potential. So that's to turn our mind away from the happiness of this life. Now, this is all coming from the 3 principles of the path. If you want to turn to 142, the fourth stanza. And then the next 2 points, to turn our mind attraction to the appearances of future lives, because we go, well, I've been a nice person. I've done things right. I'll be okay. In the next life, I'll just continue to practice, and, I'll even get, next life's going to be even better. Guess what? This is not me talking, but Lama Zopa saying, pretty much 24/7 we create negative karma. So what are the laws of karma? This is important. We have to understand karma. So karma totally depends on your intention. We can talk about the 10 non-virtues, right? 3 of body, the 3 of body, 4 of speech, 3 of mind. So killing, they get heavier. The heaviest ones are at the top: killing, stealing, adultery / sexual misconduct, lying, slander, harsh, frivolous talk, greed, hatred, ignorance. But if in the moment, since we're not clairvoyant, we don't know what the long-term consequences of our actions are. So in Buddhism, they said any action motivated by greed, hatred, and ignorance, guaranteed that seed will ripen in future suffering. We may not even see it in this lifetime. It will be in it, but eventually that seed will ripen, and any action motivated, and this is why it's important to be mindful every moment of every day, before every action, any action motivated by non-attachment, non-hatred, non-ignorance will always lead to happiness, which is what we want. So we have to pay attention. Positive actions lead to happiness. Negative, what goes around comes around. Everybody's heard that, but this is very precise. It really depends upon your intention. We need to pay attention to our mind before any action. So that's the first law of karma. The second law, anybody want to throw it out besides Joey? Yeah, it's expandable. It grows like exponentially. So it's like a little acorn grows into this massive oak tree, 50 years later, 10, 20-ton oak tree that's 100 feet tall. Every karmic seed is never wasted. In other words, wasted in the sense that if it's negative, it's going to cause future suffering big time. And if it's positive, we want to go and look for opportunities to even practice little positive actions, like smiling at somebody, a kind word, anything like that. So karma is expandable. And then the third law of karma is that you cannot experience a result without creating the cause. which is the good news, bad news, right? This is a hard one from a lot of people. They just don't want to hear this. But in a sense, it's the best news we can have, because if we want to be happy / fulfill our potential, right? And the purpose of life not necessarily is to be happy, although you hear that sometimes, but really is to fulfill our potential, to make a difference in the world, to contribute to others. And happiness just happens to be the byproduct of that, right? So, so we can create the causes according to this law. If we want to experience the result, we have to create the causes. And everything that we've experienced is a result of former actions. Most of the karma that ripens in this lifetime was planted in previous lifetimes. This is the Buddhist teaching. Now, I'm not making this up, but really powerful karma, positive or negative, could potentially ripen in this lifetime. So we've got karma is definite. Positive leads to happiness. Negative leads to suffering. It's expandable. So the tiniest positive or negative action can have huge results. So very important to purify negative karma, right? We cannot experience a result without creating a cause, and then karma is never lost. The effect of our karma is never lost. 2 caveats. One is we can destroy positive karma. A moment of anger is said to destroy eons of negative karma. That's really sad, because it's not hard to get angry, is it? So, but understanding that there's a consequence to that ought to help wake us up a little bit to not give in to those impulses for anger. And then the other caveat is that we can purify negative karma, right? So even though karma is never lost, it can be purified. It can be at least weakened and potentially purified. The only way to really purify it is to have a direct intuitive experience of emptiness, but we can weaken it with the 4 opponent powers. Anybody want to say what they are real quick? We usually, I think it's important to know these. You know what they are? Refuge, regret, remedy, and resolve. And of those 4, what's the most important one? Resolve. The vow not to do it again for at least a minute, an hour, a day, a week, or maybe you make a resolution as much as possible. But if you know you can't keep that promise, you don't want to add insult to injury by lying. So as much as I can, I resolve to not do that again in this lifetime. As much as possible, I promise not to do that. So again, we have to be honest with ourselves and look at our behavior. Notice when we not only harm ourselves but others, and have sincere regret. The remedy could be mantras, Vajrasattva purification. It could be picking up the phone, calling somebody, apologizing, cleaning up the messes in our lives. It's like in the 12 steps. I don't know which one it is. It might be the 8th or 9th step in Alcoholics Anonymous. Anyway, I've been listening to something on that. Anyway, but one of them is just call everybody if it's not going to cause a big problem or more problems, everybody that you've harmed or in some way created some ick with, clean up the messes in your life. You go back and think about as far back as you can and try to go back and clean up every single one of those messes and try not to create any more. All right. And then the resolve, promising not to do it again. So that's really important. So we've got, so that's karma. And then the second part of renunciation of this other aspect is dukkha, and everybody understands suffering, right? Or as Geshe likes to call it, complications. It's a very euphemistic way of talking about it. But I like the Sanskrit word dukkha because it means unsatisfactoriness. And there are three major laws, major things, lots of lists in Buddhism. It's kind of nice. But the first one is the dukkha of just ordinary suffering, like, getting born. I mean, I don't know how many of you remember it, probably none, but I've seen it. Back in the day, I probably delivered about 500 babies in my day, and I can promise you, a lot of these kids come out with cone heads. I mean, having your head banged against your mom's pelvis for 6 or 8 hours it's not a picnic. And then anyway, but the suffering of birth, the suffering of aging, and old, or suffering of sickness, which we all have experienced and will again, and aging, old age, and death. That's just something everybody, and then in between, you have the relationship breakups and the things that you're disappointed about. And the fact, this is blew my mind when I heard this. I thought I was the only one that was never satisfied. No, we're never satisfied. I don't care. Dr. Goodnight, who's worth $16 billion, still goes to work. Now, I don't know exactly what his motivation is, but he still works. He still goes to work. I got that from a reliable source. The people, and I have several people that I'm acquainted with that I know are worth more money than Croesus. That's Robbie's term. Some famous wealthy guy from the long time ago. More money than Croesus. So, but people are never satisfied. We always have to have more, always more and more and more. And so that's just part of being a human being. And we're born again, and we die again, and we have to go through samsara over and over and over again. Meeting leads to parting, high position leads to low position. All composite things have to separate into their parts, and on and on and on. That's the dukkha of dukkha. Then the dukkha, the suffering of change, is what? It's that one's easy to see, by the way. This is hard to see because we don't want to see this. There's not one thing that we now call pleasure that would give us continuous pleasure if we did it all the time. All the way from, excuse me, but I'm going to say the word, sex. You could get tired of that. You can't do it all the time. And if it was the cause of true happiness, and it's the goal of, according to Freud and everybody else, that's all we think about. That motivates everything we do. But in fact, it doesn't bring any kind of lasting happiness or satisfaction. There's nothing. We're addicted to deliciousness, but when we get what we want, we're dissatisfied. Eventually, we always want more. It changes. It goes from being, it's like that first. It's like if you like apple pie, the first couple of bites are good, but then when you get toward the end of the slice of pie, you're kind of ready for it to be over. You go on vacation to Italy. You've been waiting for this vacation forever, and you're excited, and you go. Well, 2 weeks into it, you're going, I'm ready to go home. Well, you go out to, Grand Teton National Park, Dude Ranch, right? Well, a week into that, you're ready to go home, even though you thought it did bring you pleasure. And there was an element of happiness, but it didn't last. There's nothing that we now, and particularly in this culture, that's going to give us lasting happiness. It isn't. It all changes into dissatisfaction. And you might think dissatisfaction is not suffering, but Lama Zopa says that's the worst suffering in samsara because it's like low-level radiation. It just is always there, and it eats us up because we keep thinking, oh, that was the wrong vacation, or the wrong partner, or the wrong whatever, the wrong job, the wrong whatever. So you move on, you're always looking. And then the last part of dukkha is called pervasive suffering. And this is the one that's most important to see, but we don't want to see it. But we are like magnets for problems because we're in samsara. It's just tomorrow is going to be another round of stuff, and let's get ready for it and not make a big deal out of it, because we will suffer. Life is going to be that way. Unenlightened existence is unsatisfactory and dukkha. We're caught in this wheel of suffering. So, so if we look at these two aspects for renunciation, there's like karma, what goes around comes around, and then most of what we've done is going to lead to dukkha, right? Because most of our actions are motivated by selfishness, self-cherishing selfishness. So the future life is not going to look any better. So let's not hold out to some future lifetime to practice the Dharma. Let's practice now. Put our efforts into turning the mind to practicing Dharma now. Okay. So precious human rebirth, death, and impermanence. We turn our mind away from the happiness of this life. When we contemplate karma and dukkha, we turn our mind away from some future happiness, and we focus on, hey, I got to do it now. Life is happening right now. So that's when we have these things in our bones and we really believe in our heart of hearts that these are true, then we have this determination to be free. And who wouldn't? I want to be free of suffering, and I want to have I would love to be free of suffering. And I've got the energy. These meditations are meant to energize us. So, number one, the first of three. The first of the three. Okay, so I'm going to do bodhicitta really fast, and I like to. I just taught the class on bodhicitta, so I've got this stuff in my head pretty good. But so it's important because this is the heart of Buddhism, isn't it? I mean, it is. It's the heart. This is the thing that distinguishes Mahayana from Theravada, and it's what makes enlightenment possible. Because when we talk about intention, it's one thing to do an act with the intention of benefiting you, just you. This is good. This is not bad. This is, I'm going to behave myself. I'm going to behave virtuously, make good choices because I want to be happy. I don't want to suffer. That's not a problem. But to do it to benefit countless living beings is unbelievable. If we really meant it, if we were sincerely motivating our action, that's why bodhicitta, we can create incredible amount of positive karma in a very short time with this motivation. That's why it is so powerful. And it's crucial for the practice of Tantra and everything else. But here the meditations for bodhicitta, the first one is equanimity, an equanimous state of mind. And we usually start out seeing a friend, enemy, stranger. If you think about the stranger, everybody who's now a friend used to be a stranger, and all of our enemies used to be strangers. So, usually we feel indifference toward the stranger. We feel attachment toward the friend, and aversion toward the enemy. What we want to do is develop equal regard for all these beings, understanding they all want to be happy. They don't want to suffer. And in past lifetimes, they've been our parents. They've loved us. We've been in every conceivable relationship with them, even sometimes not such a good one. But we want to develop a equanimous attitude, because compassion, great compassion, depends upon having equanimity, because we want to get enlightened not just for our friends and family, but for universal living beings, right? So then you think, all right, everybody, want to remember that everybody's been our mother in this and past lifetimes. This mother of this life will be your mother again in future lifetimes. Then we want to remember the kindness of our mother. We choose that relationship for some people. Other relationships were more better. But remember the kindness of your mother until you feel it. You extrapolate that to all beings. All beings, kind mother sentient beings, as Lama Yeshe used to say. And then you think, I must repay their kindness. I must repay the kindness of universal living beings. And then we think everybody's the same. We all want to be happy. None of us want to suffer. Something I know very intimate about every one of you. It drives every, and you know about me, it drives every action that we do from 24/7. I want to be happy. I don't want to suffer. We know something very intimate and powerful about everybody, that we're all equal in that way. So this is the equal regard, again, equal, this is equality of all beings. Then we think of like the faults of self-cherishing. Self-cherishing is the demon that lives in our hearts. All the suffering from the beginning of beginningless time, all the wars in you, all the political turmoil in this country and in every country, the wars that we are aware of and the ones that we're not, all the relationship problems, everything. Lama Zopa, I just saw this on the FPMT website. Lama Zopa said, no matter what the problem, just look and you'll find out that self-cherishing is at the root of it. The demon, the devil, it lives in our heart. It's this selfish, self-cherishing attitude. And if you think about it, the 10 non-virtues all fall right out of it. Killing, stealing, adultery, lying, slander, harsh, frivolous, everything. All the negative stuff is motivated by this self-cherishing selfishness. And cherishing others it's opposite. So we need to focus on cherishing others. And then we practice exchanging self-cherishing for cherishing others. So now I'm giving up the self-cherishing attitude. And today I'm waking up and it's all about cherishing others. I'm waking up for others. I'm going to take care of myself for others. I'm focusing out. Self-cherishing is focusing in, which is a problem, isn't it? Because it's all egocentric. Cherishing others is focusing out. So that's crucial. Yeah. And then we go, sometimes we practice Tonglen here. If we had time, we don't. And then you come to this sort of supreme wish, universal attitude of universal compassion, where we develop this wish that I take based on love and compassion, not some sentimentality. I'm personally responsible for the happiness of all beings throughout space and time. All of my kind mothers and beings it's my responsibility. This is a bodhisattva's attitude. This is not ordinary. You don't wake up in the morning going, I'm responsible for the happiness of all sentient beings. This takes effort. This is effortful, but this is the training, is to develop at least the attitude, not because it could have been, if it could have been done, it would have been done, but the attitude is the crucial point. I'm responsible for the happiness of all beings throughout all space and time. And then you come to the next point. Who could possibly do that? Who could do that? A Buddha could do it. An enlightened being could do it. Not me. I'm a mess. I'm not enlightened. But an enlightened being has fully developed wisdom, compassion, power, skillful means, knows exactly what to do in every situation, knows everybody's predisposition, says, you need this practice, you need this practice, you need to do this, you need to do that. They know a Buddha can do that because they have already done it and they can teach us how to do it. So what do we need to do if we really want to fulfill our wish to lead everybody from suffering to supreme happiness? We have to become a Buddha ourselves. So we set our sights at the top of the mountain. The top of the mountain is supreme enlightenment. That's our intention, the altruistic intention to become enlightened based on love and compassion. That's bodhicitta, the second principal aspect of the path. And then the third is emptiness. And how can you teach emptiness in 25 words or less? Not easy, is it? Nope. Well, I will tell you this. I like this. So the Dalai Lama said, and Jeffrey Hopkins quoted, this is Jeffrey was the one that wrote it down, but he was with the Dalai Lama back in the early 70s. And the Dalai Lama said, if the Buddha had a slogan, that, or a saying that subsumed all of the Buddha Dharma in just a couple of words, this is what it would be. And it's dependent. I want to put E. I'm going to do it. Dependent arising. Arising. Yeah. Now, what the heck does that mean? Dependent arising. Okay. Well, we talk about how everything is interdependent in Buddhism, don't we? This is really what it's talking about. Everything is interdependent. So, there are three aspects of dependent arising. Everything depends upon causes and conditions. All right. Everything arises or comes into existence upon causes and conditions. That's karma, isn't it? All right. Everything arises or comes into existence in dependence upon its parts. Now that seems kind of silly, but when you think about it, like if you took your car, if you went outside and you saw your car and somebody had disassembled it and there were like 10,000 parts in the parking lot, and that's the car you drove in, you wouldn't walk out there and go, that's my car. You'd see all these parts. And it wouldn't be until they were reassembled that you'd say, that's a car. So everything arises and comes into existence in dependence upon parts. Okay, seems simple, but Jeffrey said, I don't understand the third one, but the second one I find very helpful. I'm going to tell you that. Just keep it in mind. Everything it depends upon parts. And last but not least, the consciousness that he uses the word designates, but labeling. Labels. Our mind labels everything, right? You come up to a stoplight, you're in a hurry, you see a red light, all of a sudden you go, I hate that red light, it's just a red light, it just is. Now, when it turns green, you go, yay, I'm happy, it's a green light. But if you don't care, the red light doesn't bother you. It's almost like the badness of the light is coming from the side of the light, doesn't it? Doesn't it seem that way? Yet nod your head, please. Am I communicating? Yeah, like the red light's the problem. No, it's our mind labeling that red light a problem because we're in a hurry. That's the problem. So our whole world is a process of labeling. This is important. Where do the labels come from? How do you know that this is a what do you call this thing? A marker. How do you know it's a marker? 50 years ago, when you were born, when you were 3 years old, 5 years old, let's say these, somebody, and they just been invented and somebody held it up and you wouldn't know what it was. The only reason we know what it is because we learned it. And now we can retrieve that information and we see it, we go, oh yeah, that's a marker. Everything, our whole world is labeled, is created. Right now, at this moment, billions of positive karmic seeds are bursting forward for you to see yourself at Kadampa Center. You're having a visualization, an image of you being here. It's your karma ripening from the past. Virtuous karma, because I'm saying anyway, that this is a place to practice virtue where we can plant positive seeds in our mind and so on. So everything, our whole world is a function of the ripening of our past karmic seeds, causing us to label things a certain way. Our world is created by our past actions, virtuous or non-virtuous. So this is why why the 2/3 of the Buddhist teaching have to do with ethics, because the world is constructed that way. If we want to be happy, we want to be forced to see ourselves as happy, We have to practice virtue. If we don't care, just let the good times roll, do it, just follow the ego and see what happens. It won't go well, according to Buddhism. So again, we can talk about my body is standing, my mind is thinking, where's the I? In 1 minute, Chris. We have this perception of a separate I, a self-sustaining, dualistic, separate I. Yeah, Chris.
One thing that really helped me understand dependent arising was something that my wife did when I told her I was having problems understanding emptiness. And she said, everything is made up of parts. Okay. But then on top of that, I heard probably from Venerable Rabina, emptiness is parts, because everything's made up of parts. So that takes care of the parts part. Causes and conditions, and then our perceiving mind, which labels it based on karma. And right there, quick way to the three that Don said, parts, cause, conditions, and karma.
Yeah.
But labeling mind, that's the, yeah.
Okay. See, what's it? You go, well, this is not that profound. Cause everything that exists upon causes and conditions. That's not that profound. I mean, that's easy to see, isn't it? Parts and a labeling mind, that's not profound. But what is profound is it is exactly the opposite of how we perceive the world. We perceive the world as out there, coming at us, when we're in fact creating our experience of the world. As Lama Zopa said, there is some energy out there, but it is so subtle. It's like when you, again, getting back to the red light, you're in a hurry, you see a red light, it looks like the red light is bad. And we hate that red light. And it's coming from the side of the red light, not from my mind. We don't understand that we label, that we create it, we're creating our own suffering. And we're doing it all day, every day, in every situation. It's so cool. And so when tomorrow, when you're at work, or could be your spouse, it could be home, somebody gets in your face and yells at you and calls you names. How are you going to use what you've learned today to rescue yourself from creating more negative karma? Hello? This is a real question. Geshe talks a lot about emptiness, but hey, let's where the rubber meets the road is, how do you handle a situation where your boss is yelling at you because you didn't get something done the way you wanted it to, or your spouse, or a stranger? How can you use that? How can you use what we just talked about? Go ahead, Chris.
The first one for me would be just realizing that it's the way you're perceiving what he's saying. That's the first one, just to get the,
so
he's
this
right
is
in my face.
this is good. This is good. This is a forced projection. You are being forced by your karma to see this person yelling at you. Your karma is ripening and causing you to see this. Wow. That's a good, so taking responsibility for it is a good start rather than feeling victimized. And what else?
Well, Dan, I'll just take, since we're short of time here, or I'll just take it to the Don level. I just perceive that person as a bodhisattva trying to teach me how to deal with my feeling that he's really getting in my face and saying that I'm a bad person right there.
Right.
So first you realize it's the way you're perceiving it, the whole situation.
Right.
So it's empty. And then he's a bodhisattva trying to teach me.
Right.
Because that's the bodhicitta part of the whole deal.
Yeah. And that is so very profound and very hard to do for us beginners, isn't it? I mean, to be able to see somebody as a teacher, as like the manifestation of a Buddha, a bodhisattva, and they're in my face teaching me, compassion, or teaching me patience, say, for example. That's a hard one. That's something that's not default. But I'll tell you that getting back to the very first one you mentioned, Chris, is like when, well, I've heard several other ways to do it. But for example, Mark Epstein, he's a Buddhist psychiatrist. He's written some books. And he tells his clients, if something happens, that triggers them, the first thing they need to go is, who is the I that's getting angry? Where's the I? Who's the I? Ask that. That's not a bad place to start. That'll get you out of the moment asking an important question, because from a Buddhist perspective, of course, I do exist, but not the way, it's not a capital I, it's a lowercase I. It's a merely label I, depending upon mind and body. Not this I that gets angry when somebody, offends me. And I'll tell you, it's helped my mind on occasion to really see that number one, when something bad is happening, somebody's like being rude and disrespectful and nasty to me, to take responsibilities. I created this projection by my past actions, and I don't want to react to it and create. I don't want to have this happen again. I don't want to create another round of misery for myself. So I need to be patient. Now, there's some skillful means in here too, because we don't need to be a doormat, but at the same time, we don't have to be reactive. That's a lifetime practice, right? It's a lifetime practice. So I think we've said enough. Motor's been running nonstop. Anyway, so there's a huge amount in Buddhism that I just want to say one thing about faith. I started this whole thing out by saying faith. And I know a lot of people, a lot of us Buddhists, we go, well, you ask people, well, what faith are you? Like that's kind of a common thing, but but in Buddhism, we say, well, I practice the Dharma. We don't say that we're a faith, do we? Generally speaking, but faith is a big part of it, as you can see. I mean, we have, and it's not a switch that goes on and on. It's not like one day you come to Kadampa and you like Buddhism and the switch of faith goes on. Maybe it does a little bit because you get some experience of benefit, but it's a lifelong process of practicing, seeing results, meeting teachers who are exemplars of the teachings. You go, wow, this stuff really works. And we get, and gradually we develop more and more confidence. The Dalai Lama, the Tibetan word for faith, actually, he says translates more purely into confidence. But I think faith also has, means something to us as a Westerner. So I think we've said enough. If anybody has questions, I can stick around a few minutes, but I know we didn't want to go over too much.
Thank you, Don.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn it over to Donna for our dedication prayers.
Okay, if you have, why am I echoing? Oh, I know why. I did it again.
Okay, we'll do it right this time. If you're in the Gampa, it's on page 246 of the Gold Prayer Book. May all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may these never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then, may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. And on page 244, the long life prayer for His Holiness. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. And the long life prayer for Khyentse Rinpoche. The one who mastered his speech at a very young age, the one with great patience who received the name Awatari, the one with great precision who spread the teachings of Lama Tsongkhapa on bliss and void. Lama, ornament of the yellow hat tradition, please remain until samsara ends. And for Lama Zopa Rinpoche, you who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjna's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplished magnificent prayers honoring the three jewels, Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please, please live long. And for our Geshe's long, happy, healthy lives. Om Tari Tu Re So Ha. 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 Om Tari Tu Re So Ha.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everyone on Zoom and YouTube.
Thank you. Bye.